What's good, everybody? My name is Sweat, and we're back talking NFL Pick'ems Week 7. I'm going to give you a quick recap on my picks from Week 6, and then I'm going to go ahead and let you know who I think is going to win for this upcoming week. Starting off with Thursday Night Football, Niners and Seahawks. I really thought the Seahawks were going to put up more of a fight. Geno Smith threw an interception on the opening drive of the game, and the Niners scored and never looked back. Their offense looked great, their defense looked great. And Seattle, they were just up and down all game, and they weren't able to catch up in the end. Moving on to the London game, Jaguars and Bears. I really thought it was going to be a closer game, but the Bears look good now. Caleb Williams is really starting to find his groove in that offense. Everybody seems to be getting involved. Kmet, Odunze, even Keenan Allen scored 2 touchdowns this week. So keep an eye on the Bears moving forward. Moving on to the Packers and Cardinals. It looked like it was going to be a close game at the beginning, but once Marvin Harrison Jr. went down, the Packers just took over and didn't look back. As far as the Colts and Titans go, I really thought the Titans were going to pull it out, but Joe Flacco found a way to win it in the end, and the Titans are just not a good team. They can't get anything going on offense, and they moved to 1-4. Moving on to the Bucks and Saints, that game was crazy. The Bucks went up 17-0 in the first quarter, and before you knew it, the Saints were winning the game. But in the end, the Bucks were able to end up dominating them. It was 51-27. So the Saints are, Derek Carr's out. I just got news that Rashid Shaheed is out and Chris Olave with a concussion. So it's not looking good for Saints fans right now. Moving on to the Browns and Eagles. I really thought the Browns were going to pull off the upset. I'm not too sure what's going on with the Eagles, but they just don't look like what they used to in the past, which is shocking because they have so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe it's their I don't know, maybe it's one of their coordinators, their play calling, maybe it's the coach. I know a lot of people are calling for that coach to get fired, but if he keeps winning, how can you fire him? Moving on to the Texans and Patriots. I knew it was going to be a blowout. The Patriots are just not a good team. I didn't really get a chance to see too much of that game, but from what I heard, Drake May did okay in his first start as a rookie, but the Texans are just too good of a team, and they ended up blowing them out by 20. Moving on to Washington and Baltimore, I really thought Washington had a shot to tie it up there at the end, maybe take the game to overtime, but they just didn't have enough offense, and Baltimore ended up pulling it off in the end. Moving on to the Chargers and Broncos, everybody heard the news about Jim Harbaugh collapsing on the sideline. He looked to be okay. I don't even know if he continued coaching the game or not, but I hope he's okay moving forward so he's able to continue coaching. But I was pretty disappointed in the Broncos this week. They were riding a 3-game winning streak. They were back at home. They were going up against a divisional opponent, which would have been huge in that division to try and keep up with the Chiefs. But the Chargers ended up pulling it off, and they're right back in the mix. As far as the Steelers and Raiders go, the Raiders are just not a good team. They didn't have any of their weapons. Their quarterback is, we all know, it's subpar. The Steelers looked good. Their defense had a couple of turnovers. Justin Fields played a pretty good game, and they just ended up blowing them out in the end. Moving on to the Falcons and Panthers. I thought the Panthers had a chance to win this game. I know divisional games are always pretty tough for the most part. Usually they come down to 1 possession games, but the Falcons were just too much in the end, and they were able to get the win. Oh boy, moving on to the Lions and Cowboys. I don't know what's going on in Jerry World, but it seems like he's getting attacked left and right from all these fans that just want him to give up the general manager position and let somebody else take over, because as long as he's in charge, it's not looking good for Cowboys fans. But as far as the Lions go, they dominated. They did what they had to do on offense. Goff had over 300 yards. Their running backs did their thing. Tough news for their defense, though. Aiden Hutchins going to be out for the year. A lot of people are saying they should go after Hassan Reddick, make a trade with the Jets. Maybe even Max Crosby on the Raiders. Moving on to the Sunday night game, Bengals and Giants. I really thought the Giants had a couple opportunities there to win the game in the end, but you could say they were just the Giants being the Giants. They didn't get it done. The Bengals are right back in the mix of things. I would not count them out as far as a playoff spot goes, because we all know what their offense can do, and their defense really stepped it up this week, even though I do know Malik Neighbors was out. but this is a good stepping stone for them moving forward. And finally, the Monday night game. I'm just happy we were able to pull it out. You know just as well as I do, it doesn't matter if you win by 1 point or 40 points. A win is a win in this league, and that was a massive win for us to go up 2.5 games on the Jets in the division. And also, we just acquired Amari Cooper yesterday, which is huge for us because, as you can tell, we're not getting very much separation from our receiver group. We needed help badly in that department. And I knew we didn't have the money to go and get Davante Adams, but the Jets did. So I think they're panicking. I think it's a good move on their part to try and save their season, but I really like the acquisition that we got too. So we're going to see what happens moving forward in this division. And also, Miami's getting Tua back in a couple of weeks. So I don't know if maybe they can go on a little bit of a run and try and make this division a little bit more, I guess you could say, competitive. But we'll see what happens moving forward. I'm excited to see all these teams and what happens in the end. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to run through my list of teams that I think is going to win for the week. And hopefully I do better than last week. I did go 12-2, which is really good. So my goal is to try and beat that this week, which is going to be tough. Starting off with the Thursday game, Saints and Broncos. I'm going to take the Broncos. The Saints are missing their top 2 wide receivers. Derek Carr's still out. They did push the Bucs a little bit in the first half, but I think the Broncos are going to bounce back this week and take this one. As far as the London game goes, Jaguars and Patriots, I'm going to take the Jaguars. However, if the Patriots find a way to win this game, I think Doug Peterson gets fired. Moving on to the Bills and Titans, we should win this game pretty easily. The Titans are just not a good team right now. However, I still think they have a good defense. Their offense is the one that's struggling right now, and mainly it's because of their quarterback play. Will Levis just isn't doing good right now, so I'm hoping that we can blow them out and get a little bit more confidence on our side moving forward. Moving on to the Dolphins and Colts, I'm going to take the Colts even if Anthony Richardson comes back. Joe Flacco's still there just in case, but I really hope Jonathan Taylor comes back because that'll give them a big boost. They're playing at home, and the Dolphins are still starting Tyler Huntley, so I think the Colts will find a way to win this one. Big game this week, Lions at Vikings. I'm going to take the Lions. I know the Vikings are coming off a bye week, and Aiden Hutchinson is out for the Lions, but I just think their offense is so high-powered that it's going to be so hard for Minnesota to keep up. What should be an easy game for the Bengals this week, they're going up against the Browns. They just traded Amari Cooper. However, Nick Chubb is supposed to come back, so maybe he'll give him a little bit of a spark. It is in Cleveland, but I don't think that matters. I got the Bengals winning by a couple scores. Moving on to the other big game of the week, Texans at Packers. I'm going to take Green Bay in a close one. I know Green Bay's missing one of their receivers. The Texans are missing Nico Collins. Both offenses are good. Both defenses are good. I think it's just going to come down to who gets that extra turnover or who has the ball last in the end. Moving on to the Seahawks and Falcons. I'm going to take the Falcons. They're back at home. Like I said the last couple of weeks, their offense is gradually starting to come together. And it seems like Kirk Cousins is getting more comfortable in that offense. So I got the Falcons winning that one. Moving on to the Eagles at Giants. I'm going to take the Eagles, even though I think it's going to be a closer game than most people think. If Malik Neighbors comes back, the Giants certainly have a good chance to win this game. Next up, Carolina at Washington. I'm going to take Washington. We know Carolina's not a very good team right now. And Washington's getting Brian Robinson Jr. back. So I think that's going to give them a nice boost. Moving on to the Raiders at Rams. I'm going to take the Rams. The Raiders just don't have a good quarterback right now. They just traded Davante Adams. Everybody seems to be playing kind of at a mediocre level. And the Rams, I know they're still banged up, but they might get Cooper Kupp back this week. And they still have Matt Stafford and Kyron Williams, so I think the Rams will win this one. Moving on to the Super Bowl rematch, Chiefs and Niners. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I know they're coming off of a bye week, and the Niners are coming off of 10 days rest, and they're at home. But I just think the Chiefs find a way to pull this one out in the end. Moving on to the Sunday night game, Jets at Steelers. I'm going to take the Jets. They did say Davante Adams was going to play in this game. They still have a good defense. Obviously, Davante will add to their offense. However, I am hoping that the Steelers win for obvious reasons, because the Jets are in my division. But I just think it'll be a comical story the following day if they lose this game. So we'll see. Moving on to the Monday night games, we got a doubleheader this week. First up, Ravens and Bucks. I'm going to take the Bucks. I know what the Ravens have been doing lately, and they're a solid team, but I believe the Bucks are a solid team as well, and I just think that home field is going to give them that little bit of advantage that they need. And as far as the second game goes, Chargers and Cardinals, I'm going to take the Chargers. The Cardinals are going to be without Marvin Harrison Jr., which is really going to limit their passing game. And the Chargers look good this past week in Denver. I believe they went up 23-0. So their defense is really stepping up. They still have Herbert. They still have J.K. Dobbins. So I think the Chargers will win this one. That's going to be it for this week. I did want to mention the two teams on a bye are the Bears and Cowboys. But I'm excited to see how the Jets look with Devontae Adams and the Bills with Amari Cooper. Also, all these games look pretty even except for maybe a couple. So I'm excited to see how this whole week turns out. But we'll see what happens in the end, and go Bills.